Proposal by the state government of Sabah to build a coal plant with the capacity of 300 megawatts in the east coast of Sabah is on, according to the Sabah Electricity Sdn Bhd. The basic arrangement has been procured. This was in response to the question by the anti-coal plant organizations in the public forum recently in Kota Kinabalu. The rest of the debates are here.
He's from Kalimantan, confirm. And then actually he's committed from Kalimantan because the boiler itself is already pre-designed for a certain coal. This coal plant is not like any other power plant. The boiler.
Simply because of this money problem. Now, biomass. But we have to remember that biomass is not just palm oil waste. There are a lot of other biomass energy source that we have in our state because we have.
Over the last few months, a team from my laboratory spent time analyzing the data provided by SESB, by the Palm Oil Association, by a number of the renewable energy suppliers to look at what mix of energy appears not only to be available, but also is economic today and in the future to meet the energy demands for Sabah.
It would somehow affect us dearly and some of our colleagues within those areas. Now, of course, it costs a lot. You will realize that to connect the grid for this plant would be something in the region 200 million. If only they're willing to spend this money for something else, of course, we'd be happy.
The coal ash can pile up to about 3-story high. And we are talking about in an area, the most pristine area of the nation. That is ecotourism destination, Sepilo. 6 kilometers. You can see from the proposed site, you can look over just across.
Perpetua George, here as a private individual, Sabahan, born in KK, proud to be Sabahan. First of all, I think this question is addressed to Encik Abdul Nasir. First of all, it's great.
I know that the audience said 90%, maybe 99% anti-coal fired. But if SESB is brave enough to speak, so am I. Because I want you all to listen, I will tell you why. Now, back to SESB, please tell us whether any of the coal-fired plants have been taken to court for violating the conditions of EIA and what have you. And of course, I would like to ask that the
people there, they are very happy because dia punya perikanan dan sebagainya berkembang maju. And they even have the Kampung Bistari for there is a lot of fishing village in that area, and you can still see mangrove swamp, and there is no legal. It really assist Sabah very quickly, I suspect. So I was just wondering why emphasis is not put on a more integrated, holistic East Malaysian grid that could perhaps in a long term feed into a West Malaysian grid, and thus through the gas pipelines through Southeast Asia, it becomes a much more efficient, wide-scale grid system to overcome the parochial. In the meantime, I do think suggestions of the decentralized grid is the immediate solution to those poor people on the East Coast, because they are small scale to solve
size for these small independent power plants. And we've seen around the world that if you lift that limit, which in many places actually is just figment, is artificial. It was put in place before many of the alternative energy technologies were at the scale they are today, that individual companies are able to find innovative and low-cost ways to increase their production. So those are two immediate steps. The next one I think is the most interesting, and that is we've already seen in our report, in the analysis presented here on both the utility side and the palm oil side, that the resources are there. But it requires coordination. It requires asking industry what is the production potential. It requires the government to look at the ways to integrate. In countries such as the United States and European nations that have committed to cut their greenhouse gas emissions over time, those plans that have been looked at do not make financial sense, let alone environmental sense, if a even moderate price of greenhouse gas emissions is included. Now, Malaysia is not currently on a short-term plan to have a cap or a price for carbon. We heard in the opening talk that there's an ambitious plan here to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's considered one of the more aggressive plans, and the opportunity here to build out a mix that may not need coal is really the question. And so that, I hope, is an answer to both the U.S. and the broader Malaysian part of that.